Welcome to another episode of Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. I am always your host and game master, Brian Kershaw. My pronouns are he, him, and I will be running us through this mysterious tale of the macabre and occult here in 1800s Seattle. Thankfully, I'm not alone. We have our stalwart investigators here for another mysterious interlude. Phoenix, would you tell us about your character and their archetype and pronouns?
Yes. My name is Phoenix, he, him pronouns for myself, and I will be playing the billionaire playboy, or just, moderately well-off socialite, Julian Benavides, also using the he, him pronouns in our mysteries.
Marvelous. Next up on our list, Erin.
I'm Erin. I go by she, her, and my character is Sofie Ingesdotter, also she, her. She is an academic, and she sort of runs like a home-ish.
For wayward souls at this point?
For wayward young ladies, yeah. And she has a bunch of books in her skirts. There we go.
Excellent. And last but never least, Bill.
Hi, my name is Bill. I play Dr. Lucius Jensen. Our pronouns are both he, him. Dr. Jensen is the doctor archetype and is newly established in the Seattle area and is slowly acclimating to his weird and often fantastical surroundings here at the library.
Excellent. And wait, hang on. What's that? On that mosquito boat that's rapidly flying towards us from the town of Kent. My God, there's another person here. Corey, would you say hi?
I'd love to. Hi, my name is Corey. My pronouns are he, him. I'm really excited to be here and bring in a character today, Hamish Mackenzie. He's coming in as the athlete archetype from the mythic Britain and Ireland extension module. And Hamish's pronouns are also he, him.
Marvelous. Corey is going to be joining us as a special guest for this episode. I am super excited, and his character, interestingly, I'm just going to drop a little hint right now, is not from Seattle and is not a member of the library. So, we'll be meeting more from him very soon. All right, now that we've got all of that business out of the way, hey, Bill.
Hey, buddy.
Could I, for absolutely no reason and totally don't worry about it, get a vigilance test from you?
Just to be clear, I have no mental conditions, right?
Not yet.
Okay, perfect. Well, out of 7 dice, I had 1 success.
Excellent. Give me just 1 minute for again, for no reason.
That sounded like a lot of dice.
What? No. You don't notice anything weird.
I noticed nothing weird.
Nothing out of the ordinary.
That seems odd given the library, but okay, sure, why not?
Now, that said, dear listener, while Dr. Jensen fails to notice this, skulking about outside of his practice is a man in a very nice cut suit who's been kind of just keeping an eye on the good doctor. We'll get to a little bit more on him in just a bit. Now, I am so excited for this episode. It has been a couple of months since your last investigation, and that means we are moving towards the very end of autumn. This, of course, can only mean one thing. So there is a little surprise when you return home one evening to find it waiting for you.
A pumpkin spice latte?
Those were not invented yet.
And Julian invents another drink.
If ever there was something to be invented in Seattle, the PSL. So you are on the right track. There is, in fact, a large round gourd that has been hollowed out and carved to resemble a leering face. Beneath it is an invitation to the library's Halloween celebration to honor spirits old and new. You are also advised that this is a costumed event, and you are to dress as a supernatural creature of your choosing. Knowing the library, this promises to be quite the evening.
Brian,
Yes.
what you should have given us this as homework so we could like come up with a badass now I'm just gonna be like, I go as a ghost. Like I don't have to. Everybody else go before me. I have to go look some stuff up.
She just ducks down into her skirts, and suddenly she's a ghost.
He just goes in the book.
Sofie shows up as late fees, the greatest Vossen of the library.
The most dangerous.
Anyway, Phoenix.
Yeah.
What supernatural creature is Julian going to dress as?
Yeah, we're keeping this PG.
I mean,
What the hell?
we haven't been yet, so.
Have you ever?
In that case, I think Julian is primarily going near naked with a set of horns upon his head, looking a little bit, maybe he's got some like gauze flowing off of him, and he is going to show up as an incubus.
Of course he is.
You're going to be real cold in Seattle in the late fall.
Well, that's why you bring company.
And Bill, what
right?
What type of supernatural creature is Dr. Jensen going to be dressing as?
I'm a little torn. I think he would go into the infirmary and find himself a bunch of gauze, and he'll be a mummy.
Fantastic.
You and me and that gauze, man.
Fun fact, part of the reason why we have so few mummies in the modern era is because the Victorians ate so many of them.
What the shit?
Probably for like virility purposes or something, I would imagine.
And
among other
novelty.
things. That's disgusting.
Yep.
Okay, gross.
Yep.
Crunchy.
And Aaron, what is Sofie going to be dressed as now that you've had all this extra time to think about it?
Yes, thank you. I just had to look up one thing. She is gonna go as I'm sure I'm pronouncing this wrong again. Shora? Shora? The one, who we met in the bottom of the lake and...
Oh, the Huera.
Oh, wait.
It's written like SJ.
Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
it is not spelled how it sounds.
Nope. In Swedish, it is pronounced Hue.
I don't like Swedish. It needs to be Norwegian. Okay, the Huera is what...
Swedish listeners, don't believe Erin. She loves Sweden.
I do
We
love
appreciate
Sweden.
you listening to our podcast.
Listen, I actually love Sweden. Sweden is great. Swedish as a language, not as cool as Norwegian. I'm sorry. But it's better than Danish. Okay?
What the shit?
This is just an objective fact. Anyway, no.
Sorry, Denmark.
Just keep digging that hole, man.
Okay, so anyway, she's going as the Huera, and y'all can just come back to me if you want. I just
You're the last one, Sophie.
Well, almost. And last item, this very important question came through the chat. Is Yortz going in costume? Aaron, this is vitally important. Is he going to be a little sturgeon?
Or perhaps a cow.
Or a cow?
Yeah, sure, I'll dress him up as a little cow.
I love this, and am delighted. Now, an important question for Sofie as she is getting into her lake wife costume. How is she feeling about some of those revelations from the troll gut grinder? The knowledge about what those runes might mean for her future.
Okay, so I think she had this whole costume planned
Beforehand?
Yeah, like they knew about the event in advance. And so she's like, oh, we met deep wave under the lake and it'll be cool. I'll go, and have this kind of lanky sort of seaweedy hair and like these blue fluttering things to sort of simulate like underwater or whatever. And yeah, I'll naturally dress up Yortz as a little cow with a little bell because of course. But as she's getting ready, she's starting to feel really uncomfortable because she's concerned that right now that was very recent, right? So she's barely had time to really like come to terms with it. And every Vossen that she encounters either in books or in conversation or in costume, she's going to be like, what if that's what's going to happen to me? What if that's, what if it was this? What if this? And so the whole time she's going to be like struggling internally and like being like, I've got to stop thinking like this. I mean, she's a very practical person. She's not given to like a ton of, she's not like a worry wart or anything, but this is like a big thing. So she's really struggling with, I'm not going to think like that. I don't know what's going to happen. Anything that I could think of now is just conjecture. It's completely useless to imagine any of that, but still it's going to creep in constantly.
Excellent. Now, the three of you each head out, making your way over to the library. You thankfully have lucked out, and it is just a chilly but not rainy evening tonight. So Julian is not liable to catch his death of chill, and Dr. Jensen is not going to be soaked through to the gauze.
I mean, people will be a little disappointed at the party, but that's all right. That's all right.
I mean, you are still scantily clad, so.
And Seattle in October is very well known for being nice and warm.
Oh, it's, yeah.
And as Dr. Jensen shambles away from the clinic dressed as a mummy, he fails to notice the man who snuffs out a cigarette under his boot and surreptitiously follows after him, ducking into alleyways and continuing in close pursuit. The three of you meet up outside of the library and there run into Matthias. He is dressed as a ghost. He is covered in white powder makeup. He's outlined his eyes in dark charcoal and is wearing flowing white robes and looks very happy to see the three of you.
How is that eyeliner? How did he do?
You've seen better. It's applied a little too heavy to be reasonable, but it does give him a kind of skull-like look, so you can forgive it this time.
I walk up and just give him a big hug. I'm so proud. You did so well. This looks amazing. Did you do this yourself?
I did. Matthias smiles and kind of like leans his face back to try and avoid getting any of his powder on you. Thank you, Julian. I'm glad to see the three of you here this evening. Obviously, we have quite a celebration planned, but you three in particular, I was hoping to speak to this evening. I have a certain task at hand that requires three of the finest agents the library has. Obviously, the three of you came to mind. We currently are hosting a dignitary here. Do you perhaps know anything about the Society? The group that the library came from?
I'm aware of some fairly basic information. I don't have a lot of detail on them.
As Matthias mentions, do you know anything about Society? Julian puts up a finger, which he quickly puts down as Matthias continues.
And he kind of chuckles at that. It is perhaps a slightly too common name. The proper title is the Society for the Study of the Invisibles and the Defense of Mankind. You can see why they shortened it to the Society. They were once known as the Order of Artemis, and they had a sister organization known as the Order of Apollo. The Order of Artemis was based out of Scandinavia, while the Order of Apollo was based out of the British Isles. Our group, before even I had joined, came from the Scandinavian group. They were previously based out of Bergen, but before a terrible disaster, they had come here to the United States. We have had some contact with the British Society, a group now calling themselves the Rose House. They would like to make a more long-term alliance with us, but they must better understand us first. There are some other offshoot groups like ours. I think they are perhaps evaluating us. I would like the three of you to represent our best and brightest here at the library. He looks Julian up and down. Certainly our boldest.
If I'd known, if you'd given me, I could have done something a little bit more.
Never dim your light, Julian. You look exactly as you should.
Well, I mean, no one can argue with that.
I cannot imagine you any more than you presently are, Julian.
I feel like I want to make some sort of a comment about he doesn't need to imagine, he just needs to ask. But we're in a proper setting right now, so I won't.
No, what I mean is you're leaving very little to the imagination, Julian. I basically got the Hormonti here. So, I would like you to show him around, to act as a guide for him as he tours the library, answer any questions of his, and guide him through the evening's festivities.
Of course, we would be happy to.
Sounds doable.
Indeed.
Thank you all. I know you will make the best of impressions.
Guys, I have to interject here that this is exactly like something that happened to us at work, like almost down to Julian's costume. No freaking joke. So I really enjoy that that's literally happening on the podcast. Is we're in costume and there's a dignitary here and we have to show them around. It's fantastic.
Well, I do have some good news about this situation. Your dignitary is also in costume.
Fantastic.
Matthias brings the three of you inside and heads to one of the small sitting parlors and introduces you to Hamish Mackenzie. Corey, tell us a little bit about Hamish.
All right, so Hamish Mackenzie, he's a fairly large gentleman, not overly, fat or anything like that, but you can definitely tell that he's actually in pretty good shape, even for being an older gentleman at this point. At one time, he was actually quite fit, but, the age and a little bit of extra too much beer and whiskey has kind of caught up to him a bit, but still standing fairly tall, not absurdly tall or anything like that, but a good size man. Red hair going a bit grey. He's got a nice large beard, fairly well kept as a Scottish beard can be. And he is currently dressed in his costume, which is a scaled down size of a giant.
And just before the group rounds the corner, Hamish had been reading a note, or a letter, and he kind of tucks that away back into his costume. We'll get to what was on that a little bit later on. Master Hamish, these are the three agents that I've told you about of our library here. Julian Benavides,
Deep sweeping bow.
Dr. Lucius Jensen, and Sofie Ingesdotter.
Right as you start to introduce, Hamish goes to start shaking Julian's hand, right as Julian then goes into a bow. And you can see he's a little bit taken aback at what to do. And then immediately just shakes Lucius's hand and Eric's hand. Or Sophie's hand, sorry.
These three fine individuals will show you around this evening. If you have any questions, they will be able to help address those for you. I look forward to hearing your thoughts about our evening celebrations.
Well, if it's anything like the welcome I've had so far, I look forward to it completely.
I kind of arch an eyebrow at that last comment and look over to Matthias. Well, apparently you've started the evening well for him. Well done, Master. And I just turn my attention back over to Hamish. Welcome. Master, it was Mackenzie, was it?
That's right.
So glad to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's nice to get to meet you.
Yes, likewise. So, what has Master Matthias been able to show you around so far? Just the basic tour, or has he shown you the more interesting parts of the library so far?
So far, just a very basic tour. I would love to get the more interesting bits.
And I look over to Sofie. Well, if there's anyone who knows about the most interesting pieces of the library, and I just kind of nod over towards Sofie.
We could show. Oh, Agda wouldn't like that. She hates visitors. Matthias, is Agda out and about? Is she dressed up?
She is... Well, she claims she has a costume. She is up in the library at the moment.
Okay, well, perhaps we could take Hamish for a visit.
Sure she wouldn't mind a visitor or two.
Well, hopefully she's dressed up Thorn, because I'm sure that Yorts would love to see Thorn in costume, as would we all. And you see Yorts pop out from under Sophie's gauzy things, and his little bell tinkles. Should we? Perhaps we could take him to the library via the west hallway, which on the way back will become the north hallway if we time it correctly.
I just nod along with this, kind of jerk my head over towards Hamish. See what I mean? She knows all of them.
You definitely see Hamish raise an eyebrow at that. Well, then let's go. I'm excited to get to see what Agda's dressed up as. I need to talk with her a bit more anyway.
Oh,
Yes,
you know her.
she'll definitely be a wealth of information.
That's one way of putting it.
Have you spoken with Agda before?
Not yet. I'd like to, though.
Oh, very well.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
I extend my arm and kind of like with my elbow waiting for him and follow Sofie.
You see Hamish pause for just a second, and then he grabs Lucius's arm too if he lets him.
And so basically the three of you like block the hallway.
Sophie's behind, just like giggling.
We're off to see the librarian of Seattle.
All right, so you are going to make your way kind of on a roundabout path through the building to go and head up to the library itself. On your way, you are going to run into a few interesting folks. You notice there are quite a few servants who are running around this evening, as the library is quite packed. It wasn't quite as full as it was on spring cleaning day, but there are a number of faces who you haven't seen in a while who are kind of in the office, for lack of a better term.
I'm assuming we've talked to Jeremy and debriefed him and all that, been through all that already.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And you actually spot Jeremy coming down the hall. Jeremy is here with Akane Sato, and the two of them are dressed together as a Kelpie.
Oh.
Jeremy is the front part of the horse, and Akane is the back part of the horse.
Oh, poor Akane.
And they are clip-clopping down the hallway, neighing at people in this papier-mâché costume covered in green strips of paper.
Outstanding.
I love this.
Hey, I have a camera.
You do. Are you going to start taking pictures of the evening?
We are taking so many pictures, you guys. Oh my god.
Sofie actually invented the Seattle Startup Photo Booth.
Yes.
So you wind your way through various hallways, making your way through the kitchen, and then down a hallway, up a set of stairs, and finally get to the library.
Is it okay to, well, for one thing, are we allowed to mention King Toon, or is that kind of like on the deal?
That's up to you. You haven't gotten any kind of like, everyone keep mum about this.
Okay. So maybe we can mention when we go through the kitchen, like, oh, and this is where I threw a grape at a cat, and, then these things, and all this kind of stuff. I mean, not like in a kid telling their parent kind of a way, but like, a fun anecdote of library life kind of thing.
I don't know. I feel like Sofie would be kind of like a kid telling their parents everything if she's going to show off the library.
That's fair.
Hey, Mom, watch this.
You make your way into the central library itself, located at the very heart of the building. It is a large room with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. There are no outdoor windows, so everything in here is from candlelight. There are spinning racks for looking at multiple books at once, the Victorian equivalent of having too many tabs open on your browser. There are tables that are set out. There are books laying about. And old Agda is sitting with Thorn, who has something of a costume on him. The dog has a pair of ram's horns affixed to a leather band around his head. And as soon as he sees the four of you, you hear thump, 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 thump from his massive tail. Old Agda kind of wheels her chair back.
I am going to run over to Thorn and just kind of start batting my horns back and forth with his as I'm giving him, like, face rubs. Mm-hmm. Oh, who's a good boy, Thorn? You're a good boy.
Oh, he starts getting super worked up and starts jumping back and forth. You can feel like the boards beneath his feet shake a little bit as he does so.
Just the best boy.
Julian, are you breaking my dog again?
No, I'm not.
Thump,
I would never.
Thump, thump, thump. Are you breaking my floor, then?
I can't say anything about your dog maybe breaking the library, but it's fine. It's fine. Happy Halloween, Agda. It's so lovely to see you.
What are you dressed up as? The North Wind?
That's exactly right.
Looks like it blew all your clothes off.
And I look down at myself. Oh, don't look! I had no idea. I don't know what happened.
Oh, I'm looking.
I will attempt to take her hand and give it a little kiss.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Still got it.
You never left, Agda.
She kind of squints at Hamish for a minute. And what are you?
Do you nae recognize a giant, lass?
I'm also a terrible, wicked giant, and this is my hellhound.
And a lovely wee lad he is too. And Hamish will bend down and start kind of giving him some scritches as well if he lets him.
You immediately get licks to the face.
You can tell he's very happy about that. So is there some like chairs around here that we can kind of like pull over as well? All right. So
Yep.
so Hamish will kind of grab some chairs and like kind of pull them around here so we can try to see if we can sit down and have a little bit of a parlay with Agda here.
Mm-hmm. What kind of questions do you have for her?
So Hamish will just kind of turn to her as he's sitting there kind of petting on Thorn and just look at her. So Agda, can you tell me about when it was you came here?
Oh, it was quite a while ago. I was one of the first people here. I organized most of these books. I know this library like the back of my hand.
At that, Julian kind of pantomimes a little bit, like taking a book off of the shelf while looking at Hamish, and then just like crossing his arms as in a don't do it, don't take anything down, don't move anything.
Agda catches you from the corner of her one good eye.
Now I know you. And I'll have you know I know where every book on these shelves are, and where they belong.
Absolutely, I would never dream. You know that, Agda. I would never dream of misplacing any of your exquisite organization here.
What are you dressed as again?
Yes.
It looks more like no to me.
I clutch my heart and fall at her feet.
Well, that's fine. But how long I've been here, it's been,
She kind of seems to count for a minute.
a while.
Now, are there any of the books here that you brought from the old country with you on your way here?
Oh, yes, quite a few. Quite a few indeed.
That's quite amazing. Can you tell me which one is your favourite?
Oh, you can't ask a mother which child is her favorite. She'll always lie to you.
Hamish kind of knowingly taps his nose at her. Fair enough, fair enough.
That's a bit of an accent I detect there.
Oh, aye.
Where are you from, son?
Well, originally from Edinburgh, but of late I've been spending most of my time at the Rose House.
Rose House. Where is that again?
Well, it's in Aldermanbury, not far from the London Wall.
Ah, London. I remember London.
Oh, really?
It's been a long, long time.
When was the last time you were in London, lass?
What?
When was the last time you were in London?
I don't recall. I don't know that I remember London.
Oh.
Is that where you're from, son? You've got a bit of an accent.
Oh, you picked up on that, did you? That's great, lass, that's great.
Yes.
Where is your accent from then, love?
Oh, I've been here for a while, so I guess it's a library accent.
Brian, you can use that excuse for literally any NPC now.
No,
It's a
only Agda.
a library NPC.
Only Agda. Hamish asks her a few more questions and quickly notices a pattern of kind of winding answers that rarely end where they began. Her memory is not the best. But interestingly, any questions that you ask about this room and about the books in it, she knows the answers instantaneously. She could tell you where any book that you asked for is on these shelves and knows their exact placement.
Listen, she only has so much RAM, and she has to delete stuff. Who cares about what happened when she was 26? Like, she doesn't even care about that.
And in fairness, she lost some of her RAM by giving it to the dog.
I was just about to say, as you mentioned deleting, I am covering Thorn's ears as he hears about deleting RAM.
As Hamish kind of starts to figure that out, that the answers are not, really going to be so forthcoming, he starts to try to get a little bit of the tea there, and has kind of just asked her, like, so then what's the first book that you saw? This one trying to be out of place? And he points over at Julian.
And I mime just being wounded by such a horrific accusation.
Oh, I remember that quite well. It was Tales of the Succubi, a 14th century French tome, with woodcut engravings and illustrations.
It was research.
For your costume.
I can do research.
Yes, see, he's put it to good use.
Oh no, this was several years ago.
And I haven't forgotten it since.
The forgotten what, son?
Exactly.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to make your acquaintance, Agda.
Oh, you as well.
And as the conversation seems like it's drawing to a bit of a close here, I'll just turn over to Hamish and... so this is our lovely Agda, obviously. Was there anything... what brought you out this way? Seattle's a long way from Edinburgh.
Aye, that it is. Long way from Edinburgh, long way from London. And I guess that's part of what really brings me here, is wandering from the Rose House in the old country. We've been out there for quite a long time, and really we're kind of trying to see what additional assistance might be required out here, and if there's anything that we can maybe do in between the two houses, well, the Rose House and the library here, and kind of where you stand if you're looking to be able to help and pass out, and kind of where that's going to bridge and come together, however much you guys might need from us and what you might be able to give back. And I'm old and by myself, so they sent me.
Well, you're not alone anymore. You are certainly among friends. And Agda.
Oh, by the way, you, a tall man dressed as a giant. I don't remember your name for some reason.
Oh, so you remember his costume, but can't remember mine. Agda, you wound me again.
What are you dressed as, Julian?
Yes, that's right. Thank you. Please continue.
Anyway, a young giant man there.
She seems to ignore the fact you are actually an old man. But you may be a young man compared to her.
Have they told you about the new books?
Ooh, not yet.
This was something we've just found. These three managed to bring a group of Vasen to our assistance. And they have helped to make a discovery here in the building. Come right this way. Follow me.
Do we know about this?
This is something that you have just recently discovered thanks to the help of King Toon and his people.
Cool.
And a little bit down the hall, there is a wall that you and several of the folks at the library have recently torn down. That leads to a section of books that were all walled away.
Forbidden books.
We've discovered a small hidden occult library with fascinating new tomes.
I just take a quick look over at Sofie to see if she's hyperventilating or if she needs help.
That's why I was asking. So apparently we already know about this, but I'm sure Sofie was hyperventilating at the time.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So we have a new headquarters development here in the form of an occult library. This now houses a occult tome that you have brought in, pulled from Auntie Johanna's stash at the Our House Hotel, and has several other interesting texts throughout it. This will give you some additional advantages in future mysteries. Namely, that occult library is going to give you, once per mystery, a +1 success for locating or understanding occult knowledge.
Sounds like something the nerds might care about, but
exciting.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Hello, dear listener. It's your host and game master, Brian. We're proud to share another podcast that's part of the Umbrella Podcast Collective. And this week, that's the show Mysterious Pacific Northwest. Now listen, I know there's clearly not a lot in common between our shows. It's not like they share the lore of numerous fantastical creatures from the folklore of the Pacific Northwest, talk about famous Northwest historical events like the last great train robbery in Oregon, or discuss the ghostly history of places like the Iron Goat Trail and Northern State Psychiatric Hospital. Oh, wait a minute, hang on. That sounds exactly like what our listeners would enjoy. You know what? I'm going to let Sarah and Jen tell you a bit more about their show, and if you like what you hear, you can find them and more at the Umbrella Podcast Collective website, www.rainydayrabbitholes.com/umbrella, or find them via the link in our show notes. All right, and with that, Sarah and Jen, take it away.
The Pacific Northwest is one of the most diverse regions in the country.
From thick evergreen forests, wide open empty landscapes, crashing ocean waves, and busy cities, the PNW has something to offer everyone, even the most evil among us. Welcome to the mysterious Pacific Northwest. I'm your host, Jen. Alongside me is my co-host and partner in crime, Sarah.
We both grew up here in the PNW and know all too well the dark and mysterious secrets our stunning part of the country holds. Each week, we will tell you stories of evil murders, hauntings, folklore, otherworldly creatures, and dark history, sometimes hidden in plain sight.
Join us as we unveil the shadows and unravel the dark secrets of the mysterious Pacific Northwest.
Follow us on Instagram at MysteriousPNWPod.
And on TikTok at MysteriousPNWPod for behind-the-scenes content for each episode.
And as always, send episode suggestions to MysteriousPNWPod@gmail.com.
You spot down the hall a familiar face. You see Father Bjorn making his way. He is dressed as a skeleton, so his face is painted white. He's got skeletal eyes. He's drawn on fake teeth onto his face. He waves to the group of you. Ah, I'm a revenant.
Of course. We could tell at a moment's glance.
At a moment's glance. So, how is the Halloween evening going for y'all?
Things are lovely. We were just giving our new guest here, Father Bjorn. Have you had a chance to meet our guest Hamish Mackenzie? He comes to us from across the pond, so to speak, to see how our library is running.
No, I don't believe I have. Pleasure to meet you, sir. Name's Jack Mayhew, but most folks call me Father Bjorn.
Hamish gives a slight little bow and then stretches his hand out for a firm handshake. If he takes it,
he does the same and gives you a solid, meaty handshake. This guy looks a lot less like a priest, despite everyone calling him Father Bjorn, and much more like a prize fighter.
As Hamish kind of feels the grip on his hand, he kind of takes another. You see him kind of almost do a double take and take another kind of quick look at him, like, well, that feels like you've actually done some quite a bit of work in your time.
Something like that. You've got the shoulders of someone who's maybe done some sport in your time. Would I be right in that?
Yes, sir, you are. Rugby was my game. What was yours?
Did a bit of boxing for a while.
I can tell by the forearms.
And the ears.
How you get on with this lot?
Very, very well. I'm not quite an official member of the library, but I come through and help him with things from time to time.
Father Bjorn has been invaluable to us, a great resource and very helpful on many occasions.
Yes, he's being very modest here. He helped us not too long ago with a couple of wayward Skepthra.
You managed to deal with a few Skepthra around here?
Amongst other things.
Hamish will kind of turn to the group. So, what you think's been your most difficult challenge yet?
Oh, I think that's probably the Mara. What do you fellows say?
I mean, personally, it's probably just been getting back from with the troll.
As Sofie brings up the Mara, Julian kind of locks his jaw a little bit and just kind of glances down at the floor for a moment. And then, yes, the Mara, absolutely terrifying. That one was. But we got through it. It was fine.
Does Julian look fine?
He definitely, yeah. I mean, he broke a bit there upon asking. He took a second to kind of recompose himself, specifically after Sofie kind of brought up the Mara.
And after just a beat pause, there is something that helps Julian. Laughing and crashing down the hall he sees the Millers. Anna and Thomas Miller are currently dressed as a Doulahan. Thomas is wearing a stiff button-up coat all the way over his head and is peering through in between two buttons. And Anna is chasing after him, carrying a carved gourd with a face on it. And they're just kind of like running down the hall and crashing into things and laughing.
It's good to see those two getting along.
Do they know normally?
She was the Mara.
Oh, Hamish is definitely a little taken aback.
Yes.
We were able to help. And pardon, DM, I'm sorry. When we actually broke the curse, correct? So
Yep.
she is
You broke
legitimately
the curse.
no longer a Mara.
That is correct.
Okay.
Father Bjorn kind of looks over you guys for a moment. One question I did have for you, since you tend to get out and around a little bit. By any chance, have you run into a priest by the name of Father Xavier Duffy?
Have we?
Have we?
No, you haven't encountered any priest by that name.
Doesn't sound familiar, does it?
No, I can. Not that I recall. If you'd like, I can ask around the sporting house, see if any of the girls have heard of him.
Well, he's a Catholic, so I don't know if he's going to be found there or not. I try not to hold that against him, though.
You hear Hamish sputter in the background when he says that.
He was supposed to show up at a church in Ballard, but just never turned up.
I'm sure there's a perfectly innocent explanation that doesn't involve Vossen whatsoever.
How long ago was he supposed to show up?
About maybe 3-4 weeks ago? So almost a month now.
Huh, that seems odd.
Well, if you can keep your eye out for him.
You said it was Xavier Duffy?
Yeah, that's right.
Father Bjorn, have you spoken with the local authorities, or is this something more that you think might be more in, and I just kind of gesture around at ourselves in the library? Is this something more of that? What's going on?
Well, for now, I'm not really sure just yet. I've spoken to the police. I've let them know, in case he's just missing.
He hasn't been, perhaps, in the area of Fremont that you know of, has he? Because that might be unfortunate.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, good.
Now, there's not much out there other than that workman's camp, right?
Now? Yeah.
Well, I'll ask around, but I don't recall there being any churches over there.
Oh, I wasn't referring to a church, but, well, there was a church that was trying to be there, and then it was sort of unmade. Long story.
Ooh.
I look over to Hamish. Trolls.
Really?
Well, to be fair, troll.
It was actually quite reasonable once we had a chance to speak with him.
He was very polite, actually.
Just have to keep your voice down a little bit. Got real sensitive ears.
You continue your grand tour, heading back down to the kitchens, where there are several people who are serving up drinks. Yeah, Corey.
What I was just going to say, as we were kind of starting to do that walk, Hamish would then take and kind of ask Julian and Dr. Lucius and Sofie a little bit more kind of about some of their adventures, and just ask, so you've got Amara, who you rescued here, and it sounds like you were becoming pretty good friends with that troll. What else? What other Vossen do you have that are around the library now for you?
Around the library? Well, oh, shoot. What were they called?
Vatir.
The Vatir.
The Vatir.
I remembered.
Bill nailed
Way
it.
to go, Bill. So we had a group of Matthias running around.
Motherfucker.
Sorry. I believe it was Roger, actually. A group of Roger. No. Oh, well, if you're talking about around here, we actually have a small resident group of Vatir. In fact, I think it was they who helped us uncovering both the, and I'm kind of motioned over towards the new occult library, as well as a few other areas of the library we didn't originally know about. They've been incredibly helpful.
Very interesting.
In looking at Hamish, does he seem dismayed or suspicious or impressed or?
A little bit of both. I mean, he's a bit hard to read, I would say, but or at least he likes to think he's hard to read. But yeah, he's looking not dismayed, but definitely a bit impressed and a bit just more curious than anything.
Okay.
And as you are all getting ciders and drinks in the kitchen, there's all kinds of people around, chattering, folks talking to each other. And Sofie, you spot a very familiar figure. She is dressed up as a classical witch, with a pointed black hat and a flowing black dress.
Nuh-uh. My buddy just rolled up at the library. Cool.
Mira cackles and grabs Sofie by the arm and is like, I need to steal her now. Goodbye. And just, takes off with you.
I will absolutely allow it before Julian can, collect himself and freak out.
If it's the campy, the classic witch, he probably just shakes his head a little and smiles.
Amidst all of the people who are talking, kind of food being served out, Mira looks very seriously at Sofie for a moment, and then just casually mentions, a terrible doom is coming your way, and your odds of surviving it are perilously low, if you believe what's in front of your eyes.
And what if I don't?
Then you'll probably have a much better chance of living. And she kisses you on the tip of the nose, and then leaves.
Well, shit.
Bill, amidst people talking, folks kind of milling about, there have been a number of figures who are all in kind of black robes, acting as servants. You espy from across the hall one of them who points towards you and kind of motions you over.
I will look to make sure that Hamish is being properly entertained by Julian and kind of move on over.
You head into kind of this little alcove that's a small sitting room off the kitchen of all places. But it's sort of around a corner so that you're not able to see anyone in the kitchen in here. Almost like a early breakfast nook. And the figure tosses back the hood. This isn't a face you recognize. He's got very angular features, slicked back, greasy black hair, on a very thin pencil mustache. You would be Dr. Jensen, isn't that right?
Who is asking? I don't seem to recognize you.
Name's Conway. Victor Conway. You and me, we happen to have an old friend in common. Do you perhaps know somebody by the name of Sam Hazard?
Lucius will try and just kind of keep a stone face. Are you here on the Hazard's behalf?
Well, that depends. Now, I don't know the specifics of what you done to piss off Sam Hazard, but oh, you got under his skin. Well, I don't know if you know this, but Sam was doing a little digging, asking some questions. And it turns out you can get a hold of some interesting military intelligence from, say, 20-ish years ago. it sure would be a shame if, say, any of that information was to make its way over to your new friends here, or, say, the fine folks at the Seattle Post-Intelligencer, or maybe to get some copies of that.
I see.
Now, you seem like a very reasonable man. Sam, he wants those documents shared pretty widely. He would love to have information posted on, say, a certain doctor's, say, military records. You know why I say records, don't you? You do. I can see you know why. You know what I'm saying, I know what you're saying. We understand each other here.
Uh-huh.
Now listen, maybe Sam did some hiring of me to go procure these documents, and maybe I found some things. Maybe these are things that I can tell Sam I'm still working on. Maybe tell him I can't quite find what I'm looking for yet. If, say, maybe, I don't know, a nice doctor was willing to maybe, say, funnel some money my way.
That would depend on what records you claim to have.
Oh, I got really interesting things. Now, I gotta tell you, just in case the thought had maybe crossed your mind that old Victor Conway might just disappear somewhere, say, with an ether-soaked rag put over his face and then locked in a dungeon or tossed in the sea, maybe. I know some people who are gonna mail off those records in the event that I don't check back in with them in a little while. So just making sure you know about that. I mean, I don't necessarily want to air all your dirty laundry, Doc, but I've got certain records about battlefields where certain people say maybe went missing. I've got records of some pretty fucking gruesome work that was done. I've also got some records talking about somebody called the Butcher of Richmond. Seems like a nickname that maybe somebody earned while maybe wearing some grays. Like I said, records.
Dr. Lucius will make sure that people are still out of earshot. Interesting. Well, I'm not sure of what kind of for the full breadth of records you may have, but it sounds like this is a very amoral individual you are talking about. Someone you wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of, correct?
Especially if he's willing to pay for the fees to keep me real quiet.
Again, that would depend on the records you claim to have.
The records that I'm looking for, Doc.
Uh-huh.
Who could say I found them, right?
Well, it depends on what you find, and if you bring them to me, maybe yes, there can be something that can be arranged. But...
Oh, Doc, you seem confused. I'm not talking about a short-term arrangement. I'm talking about we have a long-term arrangement.
And I'm talking about you wanting to keep your mouth shut, if you know what's good for you. So let's do this. You leave here tonight, and you don't speak to anyone else. And maybe you or one of your representatives comes by the clinic feeling a little ill, and we can talk about this more. But not here. Not now.
We could talk, Doc. We'll talk.
Get out of here.
I'll be seeing ya. And he flips up his little hood. Well, maybe I won't. But my people will.
We shall see.
Pleasure doing business with you. Victor Conway slinks out of the small closet. He weaves between hooded servants and costumed guests, sparing a moment to wolf whistle at the scantily clad Julian Benavides, before pulling the hood back over his head. He casually picks up a pair of flutes of champagne and slides effortlessly out, just another servant carrying something to a waiting patron. Within moments, he's indistinguishable from any other servant in the house, save for the withering glower directed at the back of his head from Dr. Lucius Jensen, which could surely peel paint from the side of a barn with its malice and intensity. Halloween night is dark and full of terrible things. Sofie has been given a strange prophecy from Mira. Dr. Jensen has been given an ultimatum from Victor Conway. Julian's last remaining shred of modesty hangs on by a literal and proverbial thread. And meanwhile, a mysterious letter, tucked into the breast pocket of Hamish Mackenzie, may yet tip the fate of the library. Dangers hover and swirl about our investigators, and all too soon, the evening's ritual must begin. But we'll find out more about that next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. Our theme song is Myths and Legends by Robert Bruckmeyer, which is playing right now. Our music is by Andreas Lundström, and you can hear more of his work on the Sweden Rolls podcast. Link in the show notes. Our editor is Hannah Cheney. If you're enjoying this show, please take 2 minutes to rate and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts. I know every podcast says it, but it really does make a difference and helps us continue to grow the show. Finally, remember the motto of the library. Fear gives way to knowledge. Knowledge gives way to wisdom. And wisdom gives way to the truth. Until next time.